Welcome to the I Work For Him podcast. I'm Michael Miracle, producer of the I Work For Him radio program, the voice of the faith and work movement. Our mission is to transform the workplace of every Christian into a mission field. What does that look like in your workplace? Let's find out right now.
Hey, you've tuned into I Work For Him, the mouthpiece for the faith and work movement. We're your hosts, Jim and Martha Brangenberg.
Thanks so much for being with us today, listeners. Another impactful show ahead. Looking forward to it. So I just want to remind you, we have Instagram at I Work For Him, and it's a fun way to connect. If you are on Instagram, it's not for everyone. I know Jim doesn't spend any time there, but actually he does.
I think it's funny you just said we have Instagram at I Work For Him, which is exactly what it is. At I Work For Him.
You know what? I know that.
Oh, okay, just checking.
Yeah.
All right.
So the most interaction you have with Instagram is when I show you grandkids and things like that.
I like the grandkid pictures. Those are good.
But check us out there and you can follow along.
Aren't we doing like our 1 minute videos on Instagram?
We are.
So if you want to get our daily 1 minute I Work For Him Power Thought, that is a great place to go. On September the 3rd, 2013, I heard from God. It was 3 a.m. Central Time. I heard from him 3 things resulting in the mission of I Work For Him. This came after 6 months of studying identity and destiny. Back then it was a workbook study, and I went through it alone. Then Martha went through it. Now Identity and Destiny has gone international. Our guest today is going to tell us about how you can get involved in what I call the Bible study workbook that every Christian around the world should be required to experience, which is going to wreck their life but make them the best person in Christ ever. Wendie Klem is the regional director for the Nehemiah Project in North America. She's leading Identity and Destiny classes for women in business. We can't wait to hear more about the online launch of Identity and Destiny. Wendie Klem, welcome back to I Work For Him.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. I love being a part of what you do and just kind of being able to hang out with you guys. This is pretty cool.
Well, we love Identity and Destiny. We love the Nehemiah Project. We want people to check out. If you are maybe considering becoming an entrepreneur and you're thinking, I don't really know how to do that, and is there something that can help me learn how to be a good entrepreneur, maybe connect kingdom principles? The NehemiahProject.org, NehemiahProject.org. That is a great place to go. But today we're talking about Identity and Destiny. And Identity and Destiny was combined. You guys kind of merged organizations a few years back, and now people can find out about it on on NehemiahEcommunity.com, NehemiahEcommunity.com. All right, Wendie, it's been a while since you've been on I Work For Him. It's probably been several years since you've been on I Work For Him. And I can't wait to get to the discussion talking about Identity and Destiny because it's so powerful. But first, tell us how God's been working on what He's been working on in your life specifically recently.
Well, it's interesting because it actually comes back to identity and destiny. I took it about 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, when the Lord called me to serve and not lead. I was an entrepreneur for 35 years, and He said, I need you to go serve and not lead. I kind of said, Lord, can we talk about that?
And He said, no.
No. That's not what He said. He said, sure, baby girl, we can talk about that all you want. And when you're done talking, I need you to go do this right now. So He kind of gave me that little window. I don't know about anybody else who's ever had that opportunity, but that's what He called me to do. And so he led me to the Nehemiah Project. And so I took the Identity and Destiny, and I was like, yeah, okay, write my identity statement. And it was like a shirt that was a size too small, never quite fit. And then earlier this year, when Deborah Schlott and I were working to launch the first Women in Business, Identity and Destiny, we were teaching the first class, and all of a sudden it was like right there. The shirt fit perfect. And I got my purpose statement. And when I got my purpose statement from the Lord, this year has really, really changed for me. Because now I see the whole picture. I see myself through God's eyes. And now I no longer think, well, man, I really should be more like that. Or I really, I'll give you an example. I am not an eloquent speaker. That's not me. But I figured if God wanted me to be eloquent, He'd have made me eloquent. Instead, He made me, and He gave me my purpose. That has been the biggest impact for me this year. And it has changed my view on everything that I do.
So Wendie, it's been a while since we've actually talked about identity and destiny on our show. So tell our listeners what we're talking about. What is this thing, identity and destiny?
Well, identity and destiny is a process, I like to call it. It's not so much a course, it is a process. And so everybody likes to talk about the beginning. You get to learn, your DISC profile and your core values and your spiritual gifts. You take all these assessments and it's so fun, mostly. It's so fun. You get all these great answers. That's really awesome. And understanding how God put you together is really, really amazing. That's not the best part of the class, though. And it's also not the most important. Because next you get into what are you passionate about? That's really important, too. But more important than that is what's the underlying need? Because understanding what your underlying need for your passion really will fuel you. But the best part of the class, as you know, is the next part, and that is learning to be quiet and to listen. And see, we forget sometimes, we're so busy talking and asking the questions that we forget to just close our mouth and let the Lord talk to us. Because it's in the power of listening that we really begin to understand what God's called us to do, how we are absolutely perfect for what He has asked us to do. So that's what identity and destiny is. So at the end, you get to have your mosaic, you get to put all the pieces together, and you get to understand exactly what God's called you to do. What's your purpose and what's your assignment?
So tell the listeners, because if I'm sure you have their attention right now, how could they go through this? Like, is this something they can just, do, or what's that look like?
So there's a couple of opportunities for them. One, you can go to the book, buy the book, and take yourself through the process. And the book is amazing. Tom and Pam Wolf, they wrote the book, and it is truly a gift from God for all those who have an opportunity. And it's a great way to do that. Or you can attend a workshop, a class. Now, we offer them in two different formats. We offer for women in business, so just for the women. And then we offer, I title them My USA because it's open to everyone in the U.S. And it's an 8-week course, and we guide you through that, and we walk with you. And so sometimes, you get some things that are odd. You're like, why would I have that for a spiritual gift? Or I don't want that spiritual gift, and what do I do with it? So that's where having someone walk with you and help you through that process is really valuable. So I encourage that.
And tell them where they can go to register if they want to find out more about the classes that you guys offer.
NehemiahEcommunity.com, find a class.
NehemiahEcommunity.com. We'll be right back with more from Wendie Klem. Check her out online, NehemiahEcommunity.com. Hats off to Mrs. Connie Johnson, my 8th grade English grammar teacher. She taught me how to write sentences so that I could one day write a blog. In fact, every week I write a blog from what my father has laid on my heart. It's always short and to the point, and I hope impactful for you, just like it is impactful for me. We include it in our weekly email that also includes all the shows that we release on podcast that week. So it's kind of like a bonus email, blog and podcast links. Awesome. iworkforhim.com. Click on blog. All right, we're back with Wendie Klem from the Nehemiah E-Community, talking about identity and destiny. Now, Wendie, let's just explain to people why they should be involved in a group versus doing it on their own. So if you do it on your own, so I had a good friend who was an identity and destiny coach. She said, Jim, you need to go through this book. I can help walk you through it. And I'm like, fine, I'll do it on my own. It's an 8-week course that took me 16 weeks, which actually was probably more like 17 weeks, but it took me a lot longer because it's hard and you have to work through stuff. Actually, the first 4 weeks are super great and easy because you're learning all about who God created you to be, and it is super awesome and wonderful to understand. I'm still working through the resilience thing. That was a tough one for me. My resilience factor was a little rough on that one.
Yicky is the term I like to use.
Yicky?
That's a technical term. Yicky.
And does that start with a Y or not? Okay, but the second 4 weeks are all about understanding what is God. First, you learn who did God create me to be. Then what did He create me to be doing, and you learn to listen to God, and you're really learning spiritual disciplines, and that's hard because the enemy absolutely doesn't want you to learn these things, so it makes it almost impossible. So when we give people an identity and destiny book, we say, here's the deal. This book, this study, the identity and destiny study, will change your life, and it will absolutely be the most agonizing process ever. But if you make it all the way through 8 weeks, your life will never be the same, because the enemy doesn't want you to know what you're going to find out at the end of that book.
And that's a really good sales job for joining a group and doing it with other people.
Because
well, the opposite side of that is they'll try and do it all in a day. Right? It's like a book. I can read the whole book. I'm just going to read it in the whole book, and they miss the most important part.
Shutting up and listening.
Time.
So in case you're wondering, those are the D's in us. You know, the drivers from the DISC profile. That's us.
I'm all C. I would never do that.
I doubt that.
Okay, so we've made a really good case for why people should be participants in a group.
Okay. That was the point I was trying to make before you guys both interrupted. Is don't do this on your own, because in a group you'll be able to talk through it and you'll be able to stay on path, but it'll also give you the accountability of people that also know the struggle you went through to get through it, and you'll be able to learn from them too, because everybody you take the class with is all going to come up with a different answer at the end, because God created us all individually. That's the whole idea behind identity and destiny. It's the most powerful workbook in the country, in the world, and every Jesus follower on the planet should be required reading.
If only God could make that like a requirement, right?
Right? Or even worse, could we do this when we're like 20 and we know everything?
Man.
Or before we select what our degree is going to be in college or tech school or our career, whatever that is. Many times.
Tom Wolf and I talked about that on the air so many times. Like, man, imagine if we had this before we went and got our degrees.
Because he got that you're not using.
He got a degree in something he doesn't use, and I got a degree in something I don't use. And we're like, what? Man, if I'd have had this as a 19 or 20-year-old. Yeah.
Imagine being an entrepreneur and starting a business that isn't in alignment with your purpose or core values. You know what that equates to? Really hard.
Really hard.
It's really hard.
She is so profound. I just love that. Okay, so can I ask a question?
Yes, you can go back in.
Okay, Wendie, you commented on the fact that you have now started Women in Business Identity and Destiny groups. Why did you see that there was a need for a specific group just for women in business?
Well, you know, we always go back to the Bible, right? That's where all the answers are.
Yes.
Right? Well, let's look at that. God created men and women different. He gave us different assignments. He gave us different roles. He gave us different characteristics. And so because of that, sometimes we need to address some of those issues as women. And we also discovered that sometimes women aren't as comfortable voicing some of those things out loud in a mixed group. And so to honor the women and to give them that safe place to really explore who God created them to be, that's one of the reasons we started the Women in Business. And you know, I'm a woman. In case you didn't catch that, I'm a woman, and I know how hard it is. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm a mom, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a wife, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a this, that, and the other. And so I have a passion for helping women see themselves through God's eyes, not man's eyes. And so that's one of the reasons that Deborah and I were so driven to do this. Because when you can see yourself through God's eyes, it looks very different than man's. And that's my desire for them.
Excellent. So listeners, I just want to remind you, you can go to NehemiahEcommunity.com, and that's where you can learn more about the book Identity and Destiny, the e-community learning opportunities that are there. There's more than just even identity and destiny. So you kind of do some research, kind of look around and see what might be a good fit for you. But there are some classes coming up, Wendie. So why don't you tell our listeners about that?
Well, starting on November 2nd, we have our next Identity and Destiny for Women in Business. And then on November 10th, we have one for open to all of the United States. Now, our goal is to just connect what you guys do, right? Mm-hmm. Connect people. And so to be able to come together, it's online, 8 weeks, and then we have a graduation. We actually have graduation next week for our third Women in Business class. So on the 27th, it's really exciting. They're in the freak out mode right now. Oh my gosh, I have to pull it all together. No, I don't like these answers.
You know what I love is the fact that the graduation is going to be right after the first of the year. So what a great way to start.
The next graduation is.
The next one.
Yeah.
Yes.
This class that's coming up that our listeners can participate in. They could sign up, and there's a women's one and a co-ed one, is my understanding.
Correct.
Just a little bit of time difference there. But starting 2021 with a fresh perspective on who God created you to be and what your assignment is. And
It's
you
like
may
working
not
on your New Year's
understand
resolution now.
well, your life resolution, because
Yes.
you're getting an assignment that you may not have ever been able to articulate. And that is what God has created in you to be. And I love it, when we talked with Tom and Pam in the past, Jim, you remember when she's talked about oh man, how's the way she says it? The parts that are from the manufacturer,
hardwired.
Yes.
They're hardwired into the equipment.
Yes, I love that because they're there, but we may not even know it. And so this whole process of discovery, as you can tell, we get kind of excited about it, and we want other people to experience that. So listeners, I would encourage you again to go to NehemiahEcommunity.com and learn about these upcoming classes. And if it doesn't work this time, look to it for the future, but really challenge yourself to think, I could walk through this 8-week class and start off 2021 really knowing what God's assignment is for my life.
All right, we'll be right back with more with Wendie Klem. Check her out online, NehemiahEcommunity.com. Get signed up for the next Identity and Destiny class.
One of the ways I keep Jim under control is to tell him to go write something. It's sometimes the only quiet I get during the day. I would love it if you would go and subscribe to our weekly blog so I can keep getting those quiet moments every week. I could use more, but I will be grateful for at least that 1/2 hour. Jim's blog is written from his heart on what our Father is speaking loudly to him right now. I think you'll enjoy it. iworkforhim.com and click on the word blog to subscribe.
All right, Wendie, here's the deal. Identity and Destiny, it can transform people, but what about if you had an entire staff of Jesus followers who want to know the stuff that identity does? Can you take a whole organization through this at one time?
Absolutely. And you know what? Talk about team building. Imagine if you understood how your coworkers communicated, what their passion is, even more than that, what their underlying need for that passion. And so when you understand what their core values are, and you are working together side by side, it changes the dynamic completely. I am I'm a driver. I'm a server, which means I'm somebody who's going to get in and get it done and make it happen and move. But when I'm communicating with one of our team members who's maybe an S, they're more steady. If I come into the room, I call it leading with my D. Hey, come on, guys, let's get this done. We need to do this, and let's go, and let's go. And she's like, whoa. She's not hearing me. We're not communicating. So imagine being a team that you really get to see each other through God's eyes. Because at the end of the class, what we do is we introduce ourselves to each other through the mosaic. And that changes the entire dynamic. Nehemiah Project, we have been going through this class corporately as well. In the Women in Business, we have 4 of our staff members who are in this last class. And it has been a huge eye-opener for them. I had one of the ladies tell me, she says, Wendie, I've been working with you for 3 years. I don't think I knew you at all.
Wow. Well, and once we know each other, we better understand each other. And we understand sometimes the responses or the lack of response or the confusion or the frustration because we just know where each other's coming from. Because thank goodness, God did not make us all the same.
Oh, praise God. That's so true. I think I'd want a room full of me.
Just clearing that up right there.
Imagine you and me in there, two bulls in a china shop. Nothing but a
That's
mess there.
We'll
Two bulls at a china shop with no mercy. No
Right?
mercy. There you go.
Well, no, that's one of my spiritual gifts, so I'm really going to throw things off.
How does that work?
Yeah.
Mercy with a high D. You must be not a high D. You must be a medium or something like that.
No.
When I took that,
I just gifted her. That way,
wow.
so
Well, you know
it's
what? It comes back to understanding what my purpose is. See, it's the whole mosaic. I have to have
Can I ask this
mercy.
question before we run out of time? Can this work? Can somebody go through identity and destiny who doesn't know Jesus?
I believe they can. We're going to challenge some of their beliefs because you have to talk with the Creator.
Mm.
You have to talk with the one who created you. And so, yes, they could, but I believe we're probably going to really challenge some beliefs. Those, what do they call the baby Christians, I think is what they call them. This is a very powerful an
But for
opportunity.
a seeker, this would also be something really good because they're going to learn something about who God created them to be. But they never even realized that God even cared about those kind of details. All right, before we run out of time, you said you were going to give something away on today's podcast.
I did.
A brand new car!
Wrong. I wish. No, but you know what? I'm going to give them something.
to Hawaii!
more
No,
eternal value.
Okay.
Something even better than all of that. I'm going to get them an introduction to themselves through God's eyes. So we are giving away one Identity and Destiny class. And you know what? Here's the thing, guys. I love you so much. I'm going to give you 2.
Wow.
So that's how powerful this is, how important I believe this is. Because here at Nehemiah Project, one of the things we teach is kingdom impact. We have to know what is our kingdom impact. And my kingdom impact is for every so many paid classes I give away, free class to someone who is ready to go on that journey. So you have 2 classes. I'm not sure. I'm not picking who they go to, so that's on you guys. I'm just saying.
Well, listen, if you want to get one of those free classes to Identity and Destiny from the Nehemiah community, just call our listener line, 866-713-9675, 866-713-WORK, or get in touch with us on Facebook, or how else do they get in touch with us?
Yeah,
That's probably the best way.
Yeah, or you can just email me, Martha@iworkforhim.com, which you can find on our website. You can message me on any of the social platforms. I'll find you. But just make sure that you reach out and tell us that you're interested and able to attend an upcoming class.
All right, so
Thank
this
you,
upcoming
Wendie.
class is coming up right away, November the 2nd, 2020, Women in Business and Identity and Destiny. And then on November 12th, Identity and Destiny for the USA, co-ed class, both of them graduating early on in 2021. And of course, you'll be starting new classes again in 2021. NehemiahEcommunity.com, NehemiahEcommunity.com. Wendie Klem, any last words?
You know what? Just take a leap of faith. Just take a leap of faith.
That's good.
Yeah, and Identity and Destiny will not let you down. Wendie Klem,
Amen.
thank you. All right, NehemiahEcommunity.com, NehemiahEcommunity.com. Make sure you check it out. You've been listening to I Work for Him with your hosts, Jim and Martha Brangenberg. We're Christ followers. Our workplace, it's our mission field. But ultimately, I work for Him.
Thank you for listening to the I Work For Him podcast with your hosts, Jim and Martha Brangenberg. Please visit iworkforhim.com to learn more about connecting your faith and work, to join the I Work For Him Nation, or subscribe to our weekly blog. You can also follow us on social media at I Work For Him to stay up to date and meet our guests. If today's message spoke to you, please subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast platform. Your review will launch more workplace missionaries across America. That's at I Work For Him and online, iworkforhim.com. I work the number 4him.com.